with my people. So R. Kelly, he got 30 years. And I'm over here thinking like, and I'm feeling torn at the same time. Is that it? Is that all? I mean, man, don't get me wrong. Anytime a brother is behind bars, it's usually a win. It's actually a win for this particular dude, R. Kelly, because it doesn't even scratch the surface of like uh, this whole situation. I don't really want to say him specifically, but just the situation at hand. Like, it's caused a lot of pains and opened up a lot of wounds for people. And each time, like, he's mentioned, he's associated with like a problem that's not really addressed in our world. It's a huge problem already, and it's been a huge problem throughout the years. And R. Kelly, then Diddy, it opens up the huge problem of sexual violence in our world. So today, on Transformation Tuesday, this is a new thing I'm doing every week now. From now on, moving forward, Transformation Tuesday, where I just give y'all the raw and the real, and come to y'all um, off my usual, how you call it, usual weekly podcast formality, and do it more vlog style, um, getting spiritual cleansing and healing, helping us assess the justice and injustices in the world, and ultimately reclaim our power. We want our power back. So I welcome you back to the channel if you're on YouTube, and you're seeing me live for the first time. This is the first time I ever went live on YouTube. For those who are watching on Facebook, obviously this is not the first time that I have went live on Facebook. Just haven't went live on Facebook in a while. All right. So, and anytime anyone want to chime in or they want to jump on the live, I I don't even think I can provide you guys with the link to join on. I'll figure that out another time. Um, so unfortunately, I cannot like um, get you guys to join on and be an additional voice on this. But if you do want to join on, actually, you can hit my text my number 414-939-5777. So you can text that number and give you the link that way, so that you can uh, be a be a special guest on the show. Um, and if you happen to catch this afterwards, I'll drop the number in the comment section so that you can text me ahead of time for the next time I go live next week if you want to rock out with me and talk about different topics. So, I'm Marcus Hart. For those who don't know, I'm your guide on the journey to transform your mind, body, and spirit. And today, we're gonna be tackling a tough topic, but it's one that's close to heart, close to my heart. Definitely, having gone through the ringers myself in this topic of this sensitive topic of sexual violence, the trauma it causes, and how we can find healing and hope through faith. We also go and explore how we can create a safer world for everyone. Because we got to be real, man. This ain't just a woman's issue. It affects us all, and I'm going to like show you how it affects us all, even if you're not a victim or an offender. And this is a all of us epidemic, whether people realize that or not. So I want y'all to buckle up, grab y'all tissues and your Bibles, and let's get ready to dive in. Okay. So I'm going to start by just kind of sharing you a little report that I found on YouTube of the R. Kelly situation, and then we'll be right back. And trigger warning here, people, trigger warning. Um, things we will share today. is heartbreaking. So let's get into it.
The federal appeals court in New York upholds singer R. Kelly's racketeering convictions and 30-year prison sentence. The court found the Grammy-winning songwriter exploited his fame for over a quarter century to sexually abuse girls and young women. Kelly convicted of multiple charges in 2021, including racketeering and sex trafficking. His lawyers say they plan to appeal his case to the Supreme Court.
All right. So that's that on R. Kelly. And I gotta share with you guys the statistics I found is about like, there's 1,200 sexual assaults that occur every 60 seconds daily. Every 60 seconds, we have a total for the whole day of 1,200 assaults. Um, and again, man, this is devastating on the lives affected, the mental health of those, and at large the community. Okay, it's at large the community. We have to be real about this, man. And then another important stat is that of the prevalence of sexual assault, man. We talking about 22.5 million Americans aged 12 to 64 who will experience sexual violence in their lifetime. That's 9.85% of the entire U.S. population. You know, that may seem like a small number, but it doesn't really give into account uh, those situations that's underreported or not reported, or those who have gone through uh, this, and then the offender gets his time in court, but then you know what happens if it's a even if like and I'm talking the more the heinous situations where it's actual violence involved with it, and a lot of times those who get essayed or raped, sometimes they coming against people that are powerful who are able to walk off scotch free. And when we talk about the PTSD rates among the survivors, 94% of survivors report PTSD with an increased risk for depression and substance abuse. And when I say that the risk of depression and substance abuse uh, is likely, it is definitely likely. Having being a survivor myself, um, I come to find out that a lot of my chronic depression and some of the early addictions that I experienced when I first came back from the military was a hybrid between the combat related PTSD and trauma experience, and then also a lot of the childhood trauma and being a victim of sexual violence myself as a child. And you know, there's there's like gold at the end of the rainbow, man. There's peace at the end of the rainbow, and even when you get to the quote unquote end of the rainbow, you still got ways farther to go, And I found that out myself, man. A lot of times hurt people end up hurting others, and I think this is one of the few things that people don't want to acknowledge. They think they look at it uh, as like, okay, let's just react to what has happened rather than looking at putting in place the the safeguards and in some way of creating prevention and intervention in the midst of like all of this all of this happening and occurring. Again, 1,200 assaults daily. That's that's high numbers, man. And just think if we had prevention, safeguard measures, and more intervention before we get to the point where we have to react with what happened, and we have to fast track holding somebody accountable, making sure we We giving the victim tissue to cry, and then once the offender has been put behind bars and like has his day in court, or her, because there's man and women offenders too. We think that's it. That's all. Okay, see, we got who we needed. We acknowledge the victim. That's it. But that's not true, man. That's not true. It goes beyond that. And another important um, stack to be aware of is the economic impact that it has on our country. Those who are taxpayers, all of us pay taxes in one way or the other. And it's reported that the U.S. itself spends $127 billion. That's a big B, $1 billion, $127 billion annually on sexual violence alone. You know, so not only is these dark offenses happening under the radar, and it's becoming an eyesore for the community, but these problems that are created here, man, and that's happening here is, all of America is sharing and paying for it. Okay, it's an unspoken epidemic that continues to wash and repeat itself over and over again. Wash, rinse, dry, repeat. Okay, and the survivors, they continue to like endure suffering long, long term, not just when it happens and right in the midst of the trial and all of that. Even if they, a lot of times some survivors don't even report, who they perpetrators are, because 80% of survivors, they know they're abusers, and 59% of that 80% are acquaintances, 34% are of that 80 is family members. So only 20% of perpetrators that commit this act of violence are like strangers to the survivors, to the victims. Okay, so this intensifies the anxiety, the unresolved um, anger that stems from like feeling like those around you, have enabled the acts of perpetrators and violence, you know, even if even if is a distortion of actual reality. People walk around anxious and nervous and not knowing who to trust because they feel like the perpetrators took advantage of opportunities to abuse. Um, and at that time, they weren't able to defend themselves or don't have the knowledge on how to defend themselves because they're afraid of, retribution. They're afraid that, people might come after them for speaking up on people who have these polished reputations, and and they may, everybody may say, oh, you know, he's a good person, she's a good person, but the whole time, they are preying on those who can't defend themselves properly. Okay, so you know, people might ask me like, why are you the one to speak on this, man? I'll tell you one thing. Proverbs 6 and 16 through verses 16 through 19 says that there are 6 things the Lord hates. 7 that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflict in the community. So when we talk about fear and retaliation and feeling like you were the one who did something wrong, when in fact you were the one who was taken advantage of, and like I said, when one person